Hi guys, in today's video we are going to talk about limits, and we are going to find the limit of this function as x tends to infinity. So we have the limit of this function as x tends to infinity. So notice that if we substitute infinity in this function here, we're going to have infinity over infinity to the power of infinity, and this is undefined, right? So we need to use some techniques in order to find the actual limit, right? So first, let's consider this fraction here inside this function. So we have this fraction, right? Now we are going to write it down in a different way. So this is equal to 1 plus the fraction, and then we subtract 1 from the fraction. Square root of 2 minus pi over x to the power 4 plus 2x minus e. Notice that this one here is the same as this, because if we would have cancelled out the 1, then we would end up here, right? So we just did it purposefully so that we can actually do something that's gonna help us find the limit, right? So this is equal to, now we're gonna write this under one single fraction, right? So we have one fraction here. We have x to the power 4 plus 2x minus e in the denominator, and on the numerator we're gonna have x to the power 4 plus square root of 2 minus pi. Then we have minus x to the power 4 minus 2x minus e. So basically we have written this under one single fraction, right? Now here x to the power 4, x to the power 4 cancel out, so then this is going to be equal to 1 plus, and then we have our line of fraction, and then on the numerator we have square root of 2 minus pi minus 2x minus e, and on the denominator we have x to the power 4 plus 2x minus e. Now we are going to write this in 1 over the inverse, right? So this is equal to 1 plus, and then we write 1 over, we put the inverse of the fraction, right? So we're gonna flip this fraction. So on the numerator we're gonna have x to the power 4 plus 2x minus e, and on the denominator we have square root of 2 minus pi minus 2x minus e. Right, now we can see that this is basically equal to this, right? So we can write our limit as the limit of this to the power of this one here, right? So this limit, this is equal to the limit as x tends to infinity of this function here, so of this to the power of e x cubed. So let's put it down here. Right, now we did this because if we remember, the limit as x tends to infinity of 1 plus 1 over x to the power of x, this is equal to e, right? So this limit is equal to e. So basically what we need, we want to have thing here which is the same on the exponent. So we have this here, we need to get something on the exponent that is the same thing, right? So we can create that. We're gonna write this, and then we're gonna multiply it by the inverse, right? So the inverse is gonna be, we're gonna flip this, so square root of 2, the numerator is gonna go on the top, so square root of 2 pi minus 2x minus e is gonna go on the top, and on the bottom we're gonna have x to the power 4 plus 2x minus e. So this one here is equivalent to this one here, because same thing, if we would have cancelled out this, then we would just end up with just e times x cubed, right? So we did this on purpose so that we can have this same as the exponent here, so that this would basically tends to e, right? So basically this is going to be equal to the limits as x tends to infinity of e, because we have 1 plus 1 over something to the power of something, this tends to e, then we have e to the power the remaining, right? So we have e to the power this times this one here. Right, now we're gonna factorize here. We're gonna take x out of the bracket, and here x to the power 4 out of the brackets. So we have limit as x tends to infinity of e to the power e x cubed, and then our fraction here we have x, we factorize, so here we would have square root of 2 over x, and then we have minus pi over x, and then we have minus 2, and then we have minus e over x, right? And on the denominator we set x to the power 4 out, so we have 1 plus 2 over x cubed, then minus e over x to the power 4, right? Now as you can see, x cubed times x would be x to the power 4, so it would cancel out with this x here, right? So this x to the power 4, x to the power 4, they cancel out, and then we have the limits of this one here as x tends to infinity. Now here if we substitute infinity inside, we have here square root over infinity, which tends to 0. This one also tends to 0, this one tends to 0, and same here, right? So we would have remained just with this and this, right? So this is equal to the limits as x tends to infinity of e to the power e, and then we set that on the numerator we have minus 2, which is this one here. On the denominator we have 1, right? So this is basically equal to e to the power minus 2e. So this is our limit.